Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today we're going to tie a very simple fly, and this is going to be a Midge Larva. This is especially good in the fall or winter, and it's also very good in lakes or ponds where you're fishing for trout. Now, the hook that I have in the vise, this is a Scud hook, Scud shrimp hook, and this is a size 16. You can make them 16, 18, you can even make them smaller than that. And I have on this 16, I have a 2mm copper bead on there, and if you notice, I actually have it on, you can see the bigger hole. The beads all come with a countersunk hole. I have it on backwards actually. You can see the bigger hole there. And that is going to be, the reason for that is I'm going to put a little breathers on the front, and that's going to be some white poly yarn. And you want to have a big enough hole. We're going to put that on, and then we're going to slide the bead over it. So you want to have that little bigger of an opening in the front so that you don't have a problem sliding your bead, so it actually goes all the way forward. And the other materials, we're just going to use some red thread and a extra fine copper wire. Now the color of this, it all depends on where you're fishing or what color the midges are, because they could come in several different colors, from brown to black to red. I think red is probably one of the more popular colors. So we're going to use the red thread, and we're going to start out, I'm going to attach the thread behind the eye, and this is a 70 denier thread. You don't want to put a lot of wraps on there. Now I'm going to take that little piece of poly yarn. It doesn't matter really how big it is because we're going to trim it. And I'm going to attach that right there behind the eye. And it's actually up close. We're going to go ahead and tie that in. That little bit, I could probably even wrap that in or just trim it off. I don't want to get too heavy of a layer on there so that that bead will slide all the way up. We're going to leave that. I'm going to go ahead and bring that thread back up. I'm going to tie that off right there. Take your whip finish. Oh, got a little bit. There we go. Just 2, maybe 3 max on the whip finish. We could trim that off. So we're going to trim that so all of that is not a problem. I'm going to take a little bit of head cement, and I got a new bottle of head cement, so got to clean that a little bit. Just put a little head cement on there. Then you can take that bead and slide that bead right up to the top. There we go. And just make sure that we don't go too far, but that'll work. Now we're going to take our thread again, and we're going to attach it behind that bead. Now we're kind of locking that bead in, and we're going to bring it back. When I get about halfway or so, I'm going to put the extra fine copper wire in there. And you could put that tag all the way to the top. It's better than trying to pull it to make it just the right size. So as long as you put it, if you put it all the way to the top, you're not going to have a step, which is going to mean extra wraps. And we're going to take this back, and we're going to go down around the bend slightly. You want to get nice touching turns. You can use your rib, hold that rib at that 45, and that'll get you nice touching turns. You won't have spaces, and then we're going to come back up, and you want to keep these wraps pretty tight still. Still want to get them touching turns. Try to get them touching anyway. But we're going to go back and forth on it a couple times just to make a taper on the body. We're going to bring that right up to the top. And then we're going to go back, and this time we're not going to go back as far. And then we'll bring that forward. Again, try to keep them turns as tight as you can. If you're young, you could probably get them really tight. Like you can see, here's a pretty good example. You see how right at the end, right at the head there's kind of looks like a little bit of a lump there. This is what I mean by putting your rib all the way to the bead. You won't have these extra wraps that I have to put in there to get it symmetric. And then we'll go back one more time, and not as far again. And then we'll come forward. And you can see that right behind the bead we still got that drop off. But now we're going to take our rib and we're going to counter wrap that the opposite direction you wrap your thread. Then we're going to put some nice palmering wraps on there. Open spiral. And then we're going to tie that in. And since I left that little bit of indentation there, because I have to wrap that bead in, or wrap the rib in, you can break that off, and the copper wire, or the extra fine copper wire, just breaks right off. And now I can bring that to proportion. Take the whip finish again, and with the whip finish you put the hook over the thread, around the camel hump, bring it back, invert it, and there's your X. Take that X down to the shank, and then just rotate your whip finisher around it. And one more time, put the hook over the thread, around the camel hump, bring it back, bring your X down, rotate it, take the camel hump out, pull the spool. When the hook reaches, you remove it, tighten it up, take your poke and snip cuticle trimmer, poke that. Now we're going to take our wing up front here, and we're going to cut that maybe 1/4 the length of, or 1/3 the length of the hook shank. Now we could go ahead and take some of our head cement again, and again clean that brush off pretty good, and we could just cover the whole thing. And that'll keep it a little more durable from the trout's teeth. And here we have the Midge Larva in red. Like I said, you can make this any color. The zebra midge is, you would use a silver bead, black thread, silver tinsel, and you can put that little bit of poly yarn on there also. And the zebra midge is a fantastic pattern for early spring and for the fall in streams, but this will work in streams also. But it's more suited for ponds and lakes where the trout are. So I hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors and let them know that I sent you. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. If you'd like to purchase flies from me, go to etsy.com/shop/theflymanjim. And as always, if you don't see it there, just send me a message. Tell me what you're looking for. And we'll take it from there. I'll get right back to you. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.